What is going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadskii, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. So, at news o'clock today, I mainly was looking at the Japanese side of stuff. However, there was actually some news that did drop today as well on Global, and that is the fact that Global is receiving yet another limit break batch, which is awesome, always good to see. And this particular limit break batch has been one that I've been looking forward to for a while, and we'll get to why that is because it's actually one of the characters near the bottom of the list. But let's go ahead and get straight into it. So for those of you who don't know, this is a kind of like a series where we go through every time there's a new limit break batch. We'll just talk about all of them, which ones are worth limit breaking and which ones you should really steer clear from. So let's start things off. The first character on the list, my boy, 870, Donkihote Doflamingo. Definitely one of the old school favorites of mine. This character, he gets a 6+ eventually on Global, and his 6+ is actually pretty good. This character, man, like, you don't really use this character all that often at this current point in time. So let's go ahead and break down what he does. So first of all, he gets 2 crewmate abilities. First one states that if this character has a quick orb and you hit a perfect, you keep the quick orb for the next turn, and it will also make quick orbs beneficial for driven characters. Now, the interesting thing about this is that when he actually super evolves into his 6+ version, he becomes an int character. These actually do not change with his super evolution, which is really weird. So if he has a quick orb as an int character, he will continuously keep it, but as a sub, he'll actually go ahead and make it beneficial anyway. So it's a really interesting sort of way that they've built it. His special ability, which we all know is still a pretty good special to this day, but there's just so many different teams that have their own 2x orb booster or better that this character really isn't used all that often. Even on pure driven teams, he really isn't used that much. Until obviously Driven gets a little bit better with the Barto and Cavendish batch later on. But he actually gets 2 turns of cooldown reduction, which is a very, very big positive for this character. 15 turns for just doing that, in my opinion, is a little harsh, considering the meta that we have now, where you like Raid Boss Fuji, who I think it's 14 turns for him, and he does like this for his class, as well as doing really good AoE damage, and I think adjacent orbs as well. So like he is really, really good, but like the fact that it's still 13 turns, I feel like they could have even made it even lower than this, but it is what it is. In terms of his limit break potential abilities, he gets critical hit with a 70% chance for 10% extra damage. That's actually pretty good for critical hit. He gets pinch healing as well, which is surprising. So under 50%, you get 1.5 times his recovery back, and his recovery after limit break 480. That's pretty good for a pinch healing, and also completely resists slot bind. This is a very good character to limit break, especially once we get his 6+. I literally cannot wait for this 6+ because he's actually ridiculously useful. I would say, it's definitely not one that you would require to go ahead and do, but I would say if you use this character often enough, I would say, yeah, go for it. This is especially once he gets to 6+, going to be one of the better limit breaks to have. So yeah, I would say this is definitely worth doing. So next on the list is going to be Ein 1104. 1104, which is going to be, I believe this is Colosseum Ein. I don't remember where this Ein is actually from. I think it is from the Colosseum if we scroll down the bottom. It doesn't really say, oh yeah, there we go, Colosseum Ein, okay. So this character, see, I didn't even remember this character. 5 socket spots, stats are pretty bad. Restores own special cooldown by 1 when it's rewinded, but for what she does, with no cooldown reduction either, recovers 36% of your crew's max health and randomize all orbs, including block. Yeah, I can already say, like right now, without even looking at the rest, this is a character not worth doing. Reducing no healing is okay. That's pretty average, but no, just completely skip this character. So the next character is going to be a Chopper character, which is 1177, which is, okay, this is Stronghold Chopper. So Stronghold Chopper is an interesting one because, okay, so we'll get into what he does first, and then I'll discuss about the character himself. So 5 socket spots, which is great. Stats are pretty weak. Recovery is still relatively solid. First, Sailor ability, boost amount healed from recovery orbs by 100. That is okay. Nothing amazing though, and he does get a 50 boost his recovery, so he will additionally heal by a little bit extra health when you use his special, but he completely reduces poison. 7 turns of cooldown reduction. That is the key thing about this unit. Now, if you are someone that like dedicated to using Lucy like for a lot of content, I would say this is a character worth max limit breaking, because on the Lucy team, there aren't that many options for poison removal. A lot of the good poison removers are int and psi characters. So I would say if you are dedicated in using Lucy teams for a lot of content, I would 100% choose this character because he's one of the best poison reducers for Lucy teams specifically, or just any team that basically deals with strength, dex, and quick characters. I would say this is definitely worth doing. He gets quick damage reduction and reduce no healing. That's always going to be useful, like especially for the Capone Forest in particular. This is actually ridiculously useful for that. So yeah, I would say he's actually a pretty good rare recruit to max limit break. So the next one is 1188, which is Atmos. This is a pretty old school rare recruit character. 5 socket spots, of course. Stats looking pretty bad. He gets, when any other character uses a special, reduces own special cooldown. So I assume that only, okay, by three turns. I completely didn't even see that last line. By 3 turns, okay, that's pretty good. When you look at his special, he actually does a little bit of damage, but he reduces Bind and Despair by 3 turns, so yeah, that's relatively useful. He goes down to 13 turn cooldown. For what he does, 13 turns in my opinion is a little too high. I feel like it should have been much lower, at least 10 turns. I think that would have been much more fair. He gets dex damage reduction and a critical hit. No, I don't think this character is worth maxing out. There's just no real reason to. There's no specific content where, like, yes, Atmos is the most optimal unit here. I would completely miss out on that character specifically. The next one is 1222, Little Oars Jr. This is Colosseum Oars Jr. Okay, so this character really isn't used, and even on his release on Japan, he really wasn't ever used. On Global, he actually came a little bit late, so we never really had him when he was supposed to be quote-unquote optimal, but even on his release on Japan, he was never like a character that was ever used. He gets 5 sockets though, which is nice. Stats are pretty bad. Boost attack of Slasher and Powerhouse by 50, whatever. If this character's a Strength Orb and you hit a perfect, he keeps it. Whatever. He gets 8 turns of cooldown reduction, but for what he does 25 times his attack in strength to one enemy, and for 1 turn makes Strength Orbs beneficial to all characters. That really doesn't matter that much. Like, there's no real circumstance where that's really ever required. Dex damage reduction, slot bind self reduction. No, you do not need to max limit this character. No, this character is terrible. Just don't do it. Just forget about it. Next is 1258. Now this one is quite interesting because we just had the release of Neo Ambush Whitebeard on Global, and well, here we have the limit break for the original Ambush Whitebeard. 5 socket spots, which is good. Stats obviously are very good for an Invasion Whitebeard character. Now for his limit break, his first ability cannot be blown away. That's actually becoming more and more useful as time goes on. So that's actually pretty good. And when HP is below a certain threshold, you get 100 attack. Only to himself though, so that's a little bit annoying. For his special, no turns of cooldown reduction, which is exactly why Neo Ambush Whitebeard and this Ambush Whitebeard, you don't really need to limit break them. If they got some sort of way to reduce their cooldowns, this Whitebeard and Neo Whitebeard would have been amazing, but unfortunately that is not the case. He gets critical hit and enrage. Yeah, just completely forget about this character. Like, I don't even remember the last time I even used Whitebeard at all. Like, he's just not that useful at all. 1380. However, moving on from one character that wasn't very useful to a character that is useful, this character actually gets a pretty good limit break. I did see preemptively what this guy does. He gets 5 sockets, of course, which is fantastic. He gets 2 cremate abilities. The first one is boosting the stats of Cerebral and Free Spirit by 50, and making Int Orbs beneficial for all Cerebral characters. Yes, whenever you see sailor abilities like that make an orb or multiple orbs beneficial to a certain class or color, that is automatically, yes, that character is good. And we already know Shanks' special is amazing, so yeah, automatically this character is probably worth maxing out. Because he reduces paralysis, he's a 2x orb booster for 2 separate classes, and he makes Recovery in Tandem beneficial to those classes for a turn as well. On a 14 turn cooldown, getting 1 turn of cooldown with his limit break, with side damage reduction and pinch healing as well. Yes, this is definitely a character that you should be thinking about limit breaking. Now we're getting into the good stuff right now. The next one is Captain Buggy. Yes, we're talking about Legend Buggy right here. He's finally getting his limit break on One Piece Treasure Cruise Global. This character does not get any additional sockets. He already had 5 previously. Stats actually get a very sizable increase. 250 attack, 450 health, and 100 recovery. Like, those are some very good additions with his limit break. Captain ability does not change. He makes Int Orbs beneficial to all characters as a sub, which is so freaking useful. However, there aren't that many circumstances where you would need to use a character such as Legend Buggy as a sub. So that's the only downfall there. Is like, yeah, that's good, but you just never find the situation where you need to run Buggy as a sub. Unless if there's some sort of situation where you get given a bunch of int orbs and for some reason you can fit him on your team, then maybe at that point that might be good, but it's not really that useful, especially because he doesn't get any cooldown reduction, so that is also unfortunate. But he gets reduce no healing duration or recovery bind by 7 turns, which is pretty good. Pinch healing, 1.5 times his recovery under 50%, and barrier penetration where he completely ignores barriers. I mean, like, it's Buggy. I mean, it's basically up to you. You don't have to do it. If you do it, cool, it's fine, but it's definitely not one that you should really worry about all that much. So after Buggy, we have 1530, which I believe is the Ambush Cavendish. Automatically, without even me clicking on it, I can tell you, just do not even worry about Cavendish. I do not even remember the last time someone even decided to use Cavendish in a team. He gets 5 socket spots, of course, like all the other Ambush characters that we've seen thus far. His stats are okay. He boosts the base attack of all characters by 75, but it's also just because of that terrible sailor ability why this character really isn't ever used, and the fact that there are actually other characters that are just better than him in doing what he does. So he's a 2.25 orb booster when you're above 50%, or he's a 2 times orb booster when you're under 50%. Just automatically, like ambush, not ambush, the treasure map Mihawk, my bad, is just automatically better because he provides the orb boost and a 3 times chain lock, so, or a 2.75 chain lock, so, yeah, you just don't need this character. He gets a turn of cooldown reduction, slot bind, and pinch healing. Yeah, completely forget about this character. So the next one is 1602, which is going to be Colosseum Shiryu. Now, if you guys know me and know how I feel about Shiryu, I'm not a fan of Shiryu whatsoever. That's talking about the rare recruit version. The Colosseum Shiryu is actually freaking awesome. So this character already had 5 sockets. Stats are very, very good. You can see, obviously, recovery is terrible, but the other 2 stats are amazing. 1655 on a free-to-play character is really good. Now, he gets the Sailor ability that reduces silence or special bind duration by 1 turn, and that's for the entire crew. That is a very useful ability to have on a Sailor effect. That's ridiculously useful. Unfortunately, does not get any turns of cooldown reduction. That would have been amazing. But he gets side damage reduction and slot bind self reduction. I would say this is almost worth it because that Sailor ability is ridiculously useful, and for free-to-play wise, his special ability is very useful to have because he allows you to kill weak mobs and also allow you to tank hits, and he's also a poison remover. In terms of free-to-play, this is an amazing utility character to have, so I would say if you are a free-to-play player that utilizes a character such as this very often, then go ahead and do it. But if you really don't use him that often, I would say try and save your materials, and maybe when he comes back around in the Colosseum and you have some spare time and stamina, then you could go ahead and max his limit break. So to finish off the ambush characters, we have Garp the Fist. So Garp the Fist, he's definitely one of my favorite free-to-play characters in the game. He's so useful to have. 5 socket spots, going to be very useful. 1700 attack, amazing. Makes strength orbs beneficial for fighters, automatically an amazing character to have. Doesn't get any cooldown reduction, which would have been so freaking good because his special ability is insane. And he gets dex damage reduction and slot bind self reduction. Yeah, this is a character that you should limit break. Once again, especially if you are free to play, this is going to be a good character to have, obviously, because he reduces enemies' defense by 100%, as well as having the ability to instantly kill under 25%, and other than that, also applying a 30% health cut if need be. So yeah, this is a character worth limit breaking. He's a very useful character. That's Sailor ability, man. Strength was beneficial for fighters. I believe the other character that does that was Colosseum Opera. So I would say if you're comparing Colosseum Opera to the Ambush Quest Garp, there's no comparison. Garp is just a far superior unit in my personal opinion. So the next one on this list here, we actually talked about already, which is the 6+ Buggy, but 5010 on the global list. Well, I don't think it's on the database that way, but it is the Strength Raid Boss Rayleigh. Now, if you guys have been watching these videos for the past couple months, you guys know I've been saying this is the character that we're all waiting for, and I'm finally glad to say that he will be getting his limit break on global. So 5 socket spots, obviously very, very good start. Reasonably good stats, I would say. Now, boost base attack, HP, and recovery of all characters by 50, just getting an additional 50 stats is amazing. Then, when any other character uses a special, reduces his own cooldown by 3 turns. So that is great, because if you guys don't remember what he does, he randomizes your non-matching orbs and is a rainbow 1.75 times attack boosting special ability. That's so useful to have. And then he also gets 3 turns of cooldown reduction, right? So you can actually have a situation where you can use his special ability on a stage 4 of like a Colosseum, let's say, and then because of preemptive attacks, you can use all your other specials, and he can be ready once again on the final boss stage. Like, you can use this guy multiple times per run to get a 1.75 times universal attack boost. And the main reason why this character is going to be so useful is because he has the classes to fulfill on a Legend Carrot team. So Legend Carrot should be arriving either at the end of this month or next month at the very least. We don't really know the release schedule at this point. It's a little bit difficult to say. But Legend Carrot, when she arrives, this is one of the best subs to have on a Legend Carrot team in terms of free-to-play characters, just because of that effect. And Legend Carrot, with the way that she's built, she applies lots of cooldown reduction on your team in the first place. So there's so many different circumstances where you can get some crazy amounts of utility from this character with randomizing, getting some good orbs back, and then using his type boost on multiple different stages. It is just amazing. So yeah, this is a character that you want to be doing, especially because he gets critical hit, and he also gets slot bind self reduction. So whenever his raid boss comes back, I would highly suggest farming up 8 copies to rainbow this character, because he is definitely going to be worth it. Now, the final character on this list is the Untitled Doflamingo, which is he was the global first raid boss Doflamingo. So I don't actually know what this character is all about in terms of his limit break. Stats are amazing for a free-to-play character. Oh my god, those are some crazy stats. When HP is below a certain threshold, I'd say 30%. Boost own attack by 100, so the exact same as Ambush Whitebeard. When any other cerebral or driven character uses a special, reduces own cooldown by 1. Yo, that's actually a pretty good sailor ability, actually. He doesn't get any cooldown though. Oh, that sucks. That would have been so good if he got some cooldown reduction. You know, if you guys don't remember what he does, he randomizes your non-matching orbs, including block, so that's useful. He gives you that 1 turn of locking orbs, but he's basically got the same sort of effect as V1 Kuzan, where if you use any attack or orb boost, he extends it for 1 turn, but it's actually for 2 turns on Doflamingo compared to Kuzan. And it's great because you can use some sort of boost on like on a mini boss, use his special to make it last for 3 turns or 4 turns, depending on what you're using. And he also locks those orbs as well, so depending on the structure of your team, you can actually structure it where you don't even need to use any specials on the final stage. You basically just use them all on stage 4, and then you'll have them all ready by stage 5 again. You know, it's really cool the way this character is actually structured. He gets reduced no healing and slot bind self-reduction. So this character, I mean, he doesn't really get much. Like, that's the only redeeming factor of this guy's limit break. So I would say if you use him often, then maybe, but personally, I've never found a situation where I needed to use a character like this anyway, but, you know, it is what it is. But that's pretty much it, guys. That's the full rundown of this month of May's limit break characters. So I think that's about it. So hopefully you guys did enjoy this video and you guys learned something along the way. Now, just to, you know, like a TLDR, which characters are the best ones here, I would say Legend Doflamingo, especially once he gets his super evolution. That's going to be worth it. If you guys like use Lucy a lot, or any strength, dex, and quick captain, then this chopper is going to be worth it as well. Next was Shanks, Ambush Quest Shanks. He is amazing, gets a great sailor ability, gets a cooldown reduction. Yes, this is definitely worth doing. Legend Buggy is whatever, you know, you can do it if you want, not a really big requirement. Shiryu, if you use him often, then maybe it's worth doing. If you don't use him that often, it's really not really that worth it. Ambush Quest Garp was amazing, and also Dark King Rayleigh is 100% worth limit breaking as well. So that's going to end the video, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you guys did, make sure to leave a like, and if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. But other than that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.